What's good, y'all? This video, GeoFucks, this video is coming from someone else's opinion and perspective, and then I just wanted to share my 2 cents because I basically agree where they're coming from. And basically the individual was basically saying how a lot of times within the LGBTQ plus community, especially with gay men, bi men, pansexual men who sleep with other men, etc., sex is often used as a coping mechanism. It's an activity that, some of us do very mindlessly. Like, we don't have feelings for the person necessarily. However, we are horny and we want to have an orgasm, we want to bust, and you want to dip set. So that's problematic. The second reason behind us and our sex is that a lot of times, especially within the gay community, LGBTQ plus community, sex is the only time that you really get any real type of intimacy. And a lot of us are longing for intimacy. And when I say intimacy, I want people to understand that, intimacy is not just about sex. You know what I mean? And sex is not just about penetrative intercourse either. So you could have intimacy by cuddling, by holding hands, by spooning, kissing, touching, things of that nature. You could have intimacy just by spending time with your partner. Y'all going to the park and having a picnic and just chilling, or going for a walk or hiking or any of that. You can have intimacy in so many different ways. And then when it comes to sex, you can have sex in so many different ways that doesn't include penetration. But the person was basically saying, like, a lot of times it's because people are looking for intimacy. We don't get to have a lot of intimacy in the community. And then those that do, everything is kind of under wraps because, again, we live in a very homophobic, biphobic, transphobic society. So you don't really get many public displays of affection within our community because it's dangerous. And it is what it is. It's not, you as a guy, as a man, someone being read as a man by society, and they see you holding your partner, who's another man's, for example, hand, you're going to be looked at crazy. You kiss your partner, just a lot of things that I think about that as a queer person, I don't have the privilege and safety to really participate in, that cishet people take for granted. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Like, nobody's looking at you crazy because you're holding your girlfriend's hand if you're a guy, right? Nobody's, looking at you strange because y'all are making out. Granted, people might say, ooh, that's unnecessary, y'all could get a room, but nobody's trying to pull out the pitchfork to assault you, to call you the F word and all this other stuff. Nobody's doing that. Meanwhile, for gay people, for LGBTQ plus people, especially in this current climate, you have to be very conscientious of the surroundings that you're in, because you might become a victim of a hate crime. Like, that's just how shit is. You might... So a lot of times, sex really is the only time, in many cases, that you're able to get that type of intimacy. And a lot of times, like I said, having somebody hold you and like all of that, like, it's taken for granted, and a lot of us don't get that, and then once you start breaking it down to even smaller marginalized communities within the LGBTQ community, and I'm gonna just say it because I'm a part of it, the trans community, like, we face so much mess, it's ridiculous. Like, and of course everybody has their own individual experiences. I can't speak for the trans community. I can't speak for the LGBT community, because like I said, we all have different experiences. Some are good, some are bad, some are neutral. But I can, speak from my perspective and say that, yeah, a lot of times you miss out on so much, right? Like, so many things that I should have did, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago, that I'm just now getting little bits to do at damn near 30. Like, I'm basically 2 months out from turning 30. And a lot of the stuff that I'm doing is stuff that I should have been doing when I was 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. You know what I mean? Like, I'm late to a lot of things because I wasn't allowed to live my truths. I wasn't allowed to affirm my gender, affirm myself. So I was basically miserable for 26 years. And then you're trying to catch up and, have these experiences all while we're in a pandemic, within a pandemic, within a pandemic. Like, you've got COVID, various variants, monkeypox, mass shootings, rampant homophobia, transphobia, biphobia, racism, sexism, misogyny, classism. So many things is going on. Environmental injustices, climate change, you name it. All of this is happening, and then you're also trying to, like, keep yourself safe and the people you care about safe and others safe while still trying to have a life. Because, again, for our own mental health, can't be isolated and quarantined 24/7. It is what it is. It's not good for people's mental health. But in the same breath, for your physical health, you can't just be out and about 24/7 with no type of mask or precautions. You know what I mean? So it's a dilemma. But it's something that I often think about because, like I said, I personally did not get to do a lot of things until basically the past 3 years. And it does kind of hurt. Ain't no kind of to it. It does, because like I sit back and think like, damn, I didn't really get to have a boyfriend, a significant other, a partner. I never really got to be anybody's boyfriend, significant other, partner. I've never been in a committed relationship of any kind, whether that's monogamous, non-monogamous, polyamorous, open relationship, you name it, I never got. So, it's a lot of things that I sit down and think about. Like, and I do think because we're forced to live in the closet and live double and quadruple lives, and you're never, like, some people never get the chance to affirm themselves, ever. And then those of us that do, it's a privilege and a blessing, but you're basically fighting an uphill battle every step of the way. So it's just a lot of stuff that, in my opinion, cisgendered heterosexual people take for granted. Like, when I look at my friends who had boyfriends and girlfriends when they were in 8th, 9th grade, like, you people were able to have those experiences at the milestone age that you were supposed to have it. Me, my first real kiss basically wasn't until I was 26. That's what I'm talking about. But, like, you miss out on so much when you're not able to be who you are. I'm just gonna throw it out there. And then too, being autistic and on the autistic spectrum, I just feel like a lot of times stuff that's common sense to other, neurotypical people is not necessarily to us, and then stuff that makes sense and is common sense to neurodivergent people isn't necessarily going to make sense to neurotypical people. That's not always the case, but it's something that I think about, and just like, I just think of like, damn, I've never been in a relationship. Like, I started having sex 3 years ago. Like, that's what I'm talking about. But, like, this is shit that you should have been doing society tells us this is stuff that we should have done well before turning 26. But in the same breath, society will tell you that you should wait to marriage. I personally don't recommend waiting to marriage to have sex. Because what if you have sex with somebody that you're married to that is trash in the bedroom, treats you like shit anyways, but you waited to get married for that? You see what I'm saying? So I don't think that really makes sense personally, but if that's what you want to do, by all means, go do it. But yeah, what the person was saying, I agreed. I feel like a lot of times we use sex as a coping mechanism in a way to have any type of intimacy, to have any body touch. Like, sex can be very therapeutic and healing for people because, again, if that's the only time you get to have that type of affection, intimacy, somebody really caressing and caring about you and your body, because again, as a trans person, let's just, in my experience, I'm what you would consider cis passing, which to me is there's a lot of toxicity with that, because on one side, yeah, people assume you're cisgendered, and then like there is a privilege that comes with being cis passing. But then there's also a danger that comes with cis passing, because when people find out that you're not cis, they're going to assume that you lied, that you tricked them and all this other shit, when in reality, you shouldn't be assuming that everybody's cisgendered from the get-go. Like, I'm walking in the McDonald's and you happen to see me and you find me attractive or whatever it may be. Now we're talking. And then when I, disclose that, well, I was born intersex, I identify as a trans man, transgendered man, trans masculine human being. Now it's, oh, you guys are always lying, you're tricking people should know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we're not going to be walking around with I'm trans stickers. I mean, again, unless I'm engaging in a sexual activity, a sexual relationship with you, I don't have to tell you shit. I'm literally coming in the McDonald's to get breakfast. You see what I'm saying? Because you're not going to walk up to me and scream that you're cisgendered. So why should I be walking up to you when I'm getting McDonald's and you just happen to be trying to flirt in the line? Like, that's what I'm saying by cis het people, in my opinion, take a lot of shit for granted. Like, they don't have to disclose their gender. They don't have to disclose their sexuality. They can just be who they are. While the rest of us are forced to, made to feel like we're lying and hiding shit about ourselves, when in reality, it's none of your business. Again, unless I'm engaging in a sexual activity or relationship with you, it's none of your business. But, yeah. I think I'm going to do more videos like this where I kind of just talk about how things that are taken for granted by other people, and let's just keep it real, by privileged people, and we've all do this. I'm guilty of doing this. So I have to constantly check in with myself. Like, you don't realize the privileges you have, because that is right. As a quote unquote, cis passing intersex trans man, trans masculine person, people assume that I'm a cis man. So and this is true, it's easier for me to navigate shit. And then because, and everyone's like, well, how did you get a beard? Why do you have hair on your chest? And again, I'm intersex. So I was already naturally hairy. I already could grow, peach fuzz. Had a whole mustache way before I started affirming myself. Had long sideburns. My sideburns always would go down here anyways. So I kind of knew that I would probably be able to get a beard. Had hair all on my arms, chest, legs, thighs, ass. It is what it is. So for me, the minute I started affirming my gender and doing gender affirming hormone therapy, literally within a month, I saw massive changes. And it didn't really take me long to get facial hair, because I already had it. It just ended up being thicker and more of it. And it just started filling in spaces. And like my chest here has just like expanded. And it doesn't matter how many times I shave, it'll be back. So I've kind of gotten annoyed with shaving. But yeah, let me go in here and get this breakfast, shower, take the dogs out, shower, work. I'm up early all the time, so it is what it is. But it's just something that I think about. I'm out.